and that's incredibly interesting. You look at the fact that KOLER, he's been playing up a lot of Brimstone, and if I'm not mistaken, who else again? Omen, sorry. Omen and Brimstone really throughout the past couple of months. He has pulled out the Cypher in tournament. Don't get me wrong, he has. But then pulling it out now on a map like Split might be a little bit of a curveball, but we actually have our first take of the game, and it's going to be on A. Already a player has gone down for Immortals, that's Asuna.
That first kill might just throw a little bit of a wrench, but as the spike does go down, it's all about can they hold on the retake. Relyks, on his normal Phoenix character, he's going to try and lock this one up, but there's a crossfire there. jcStani is sitting and waiting as that Omen, a ghost in his hand, and he's trying to turn them into ghosts. KOLER still in the back of the site by elbow. They've got a nice setup here. If jcStani can get both of these kills, I think they might have got the round of the bag, but all the bullets, not a single one connecting. And next thing you know, the paranoia being thrown out. It's a retake that might just have been won here by Cloud9. Genghsta has to get close, and he's got to get fruity with it. He's got to try and dance around this site here, but the wall goes up. This should be the defuse. Mitch has already stuck it. Halfway. There's not enough time. Dicey can't get on top, and they just barely get it. The time was on their side, and Cloud9 find round number 1.
Dude, a 1v3 at the end. I mean, in what other game are you going to see a player, you know, in a smoke or really anything of the sort, face up against 3 guns and still be able to get a defuse? Just in Valorant, you literally have a brick wall right in front of them, or in this case, what is it, like an ice wall, something of the sort. Puts it right in front of him, and he's just able to get that sneak defuse, that ninja defuse. Man, I mean, it was a rough take. All the 1v1s going down on sites, but little by little, the only goal of that take was just to try to get that ninja defuse, or at least try to get that wall up for the defuse. And again, good stuff from Cloud9 on the fly, pulling that out for Mitch. But at least in this round, Immortals opting to go over to mid. Good trade coming in from Asuna, but again, over towards top heaven. You have Vice holding it down with a Spectre. Good stuff from Asuna, still collecting 2 off that Sheriff, but now Genghsta, the last one remaining in a 1v3, gonna go down from behind to shinobi. 2-0 start.
A little bit sloppy though, and a lot of the problems, at least that we've noticed in the past, is this second round. Yes, you've got that bye with you, but the fact that they lose 3 players, that's going to hurt their economy a whole lot, and they might not even have the 5 fans on bye they were hoping for, even that operator, perhaps. So this does get a little bit dicey. I'm curious to see what the buys exactly are. Obviously, the HUD's a little bit messed up. So TenZ and Mitch both holding on to the Spectres. But yeah, here comes kind of the slight economy hit. Vice is forced to go with light armor, and KOLER as well. So it's kind of an even trade with Cloud9 and a 2-0 advantage. We'll see if Immortals can finally get around on the board now that they've got the rifles.
Careful now.
shinobi in an opportune spot in heaven right behind the cage, but that's going to be jcStani with a quick swing. Just for now, that site advantage. TenZ, along with his teammates, just trying to slowly take around the extremities, but again, jcStani, his opportune spot in heaven. Just keep capitalizing forward, and look at this, just the constant battle between himself and Mitch, but it's just going to have to be Vice helping himself out with that flash, and yet another frag is going to be down to Genghsta in a 1v2.
Oh, he's sitting on the site, and Mitch just catching him through the corner of that elbow position. Will now be a 3rd on the board. It was a little bit closer, a little bit more tight. Great execution coming out at least from Immortals. Worked their way onto the site, but again, the retake is where they failed, and it will be the 3rd for Cloud9. The bye, still I imagine it's going to be a little bit more shaky, at least on the Immortals side, now that they've lost that, but that should at least stabilize Cloud9. They lose 3 players as well, but I think that round might not have been as costly because of the fact that obviously they held on to those 2 Spectres. So, going into round number 4, Sheriffs and a classic here for Immortals.
Yeah, the Deco buy, the Shiko buy, whatever you may call it. At this point, it's just an orchestra of sheriffs. And at least over to mid, it's been the only time that Immortals that actually wanted to make their way through. They made it pretty effective in KOLER already with a 1D on to TenZ. Mitch in the all-important Sage spot. Here on Split, just playing up in heaven. Oh man, surviving with 1 HP, going to be able to heal up, and he's all the way back. Has to stay disciplined, has to stay with his teammates. And again, very intense for at least a little bit now, but Asuna popping up, getting himself too with the Vandal, and still the revive from Genghsta. things are not only equalized, but a huge advantage for Immortals. It's a 4v2. Oh no, Vice on site, going to be able to use up that ulti, but again, he's still playing Ring Around the Rosie. KOLER from behind, finally getting the frag, but at least a little bit of advantage has been taken. This Spike, at least, it's probably in the worst spot possible for these two players.
Oh.
And Mitch might just realize it. 30 seconds left. These players have to be so quiet, so sneaky. Again, this round could have been done and dusted, but off of a 4v2, this could just be Mitch trying to hold things down, but instead it's KOLER with his third. Big round for Immortals, dragging it down mid. Again, great stuff from Asuna once again. KOLER with 3 on the round. Immortals capitalizing back, but they still have to focus up on the economy coming up next.
That'll give at least Dicey the operator back in his hands. The deadly duo of Asuna and Dicey. See if they can make this one work. The bye weakened for the side of Cloud9. Left onto 3 Phantoms and 2 Classics. I think Relyks is going to have to relegate himself down to a Stinger. So the bye, definitely not pretty. A Judge even being pulled out here. So that's even more interesting to see. But it is viable on a map like Split. Lots of close quarter angles that provide itself the opportunity. And it's in the hands of TenZ, so it's even more deadly. TP from jcStani denied the opportunity to get that early information. TenZ, though, immediately cut out of this round by Asuna. Judge out of play, and Dicey's got the knives on out here. There is a player in the back of the site. It is Relyks, but for not much longer. They've got the site for the time being, but in a 2 versus 3, there is a revive available here for Mitch if he wants to call upon it. But with the weapons that they've got, they can make this work. 3 versus 3 now as Mitch brings back Shinobi.
Big for now, but jcStani going for the teleport. That's going to be Mitch on the front lines. Asuna, Dicey, both holding back in the back lines. Oh, Dicey somehow catching Vice instead, pulling out the knives. Huge for Dicey. I seriously don't understand how Dicey actually got the player behind, but even then, it somehow works for Immortals. They catch a second off the 3v2.
And that second round for Immortals. Look at what it's done to the economy of Cloud9. Down to pistol they've gone. From such a high to now such a low. 3 rounds in a row. It seems it's going to happen here for both of these teams. Immortals, 1 round away, and this is their golden chance to tie things up. The attacking side on Split, not one of the easiest sides to play, but if you play it right, you'll have one heck of a half, and you'll find even more success on that defending side. All 5 players here from Immortals. They're not going for any defaults. Cut the cameras. They're going straight for A here. There's 1 player. It is going to be TenZ, though, who has the knives out, but he can't connect anything. Immediately taken down there, and there's the A site with pistols to play with. At this point, they're just hoping to maybe do a little bit of damage or walk away with a rifle.
Sort of obvious was what TenZ was going for. I mean, it's very common with Jetts. Don't grab yourself a singular pistol. Keep up the knives. Still able to get yourself economic damage. That's really the goal of Cloud9 going into this round. Of course, they want to win on the round 4 head, right? But even then, they want the economic damage. They want to take away some of these guns and force their opponents to reinvest into the next round to make that reset, to make that comeback just a little bit more possible. But at least for now, you have Vice, Mitch, sitting in the back lines, a ramp, and again, they just want themselves a singular frag off of this, right? KOLER getting both. It's whack-a-mole. And the score is tied 3-3. Again, mission certainly not accomplished for Cloud9. They at least wanted to pick out of that one, but they allow not only the spike plant, but also a flawless win from Immortals.
At least that save has given them the opportunity to buy. It's again TenZ who find himself with the Jett. Both the Jetts have the operator this time around, and curious to see who comes out on top. Clearly, Dicey's been the better Jett thus far by a large sum of 5 kills. That's because, obviously, our boy TenZ hasn't been able to hold that operator. We saw what he did on Ascent earlier today, if you guys were on the Priya stream. Popped off of the Vandal. This time he's picked up the operator. I'm curious to see what he can do. Shinobi, paranoia to his face, will respond, I believe, with one of his own, as Asuna clears out the top of that Sage Wall. Not sure if there's still a player on top, as the line of sight isn't in his favor, but Here it comes back. Paranoia swung back on in. Relyks has got a double curveball. Dicey not affected by either, but it's the crossfire that takes down 2 here from Immortals, and Cloud9 find themselves up by 2 in a 5 versus 3.
Dicey around the corner has to capitalize with this operator. He saw 2 players over towards Heaven, but he was somehow able to use that shotgun up. But now here comes Genghsta, capitalizing on 2 on site. This has flipped out of nowhere now. Sully TenZ has to go into a 1-on-2, but again, he has that op that he's just so been waiting for.
No!
TenZ with the collateral. The 2 players at the end, Dicey and Genghsta, line up for him. And he takes the round for Cloud9. 15 HP, Sully, are you kidding me?
It was so perfectly well played. Maybe just a little bit of luck, but all great players got luck on their side, and TenZ has got a hell of a lot of it. Lady Luck is with him, and TenZ, the shish kebab. We've seen so many collaterals like that before, and that is nothing from what we've seen in the past. Both of them on the spike. Why are they both playing there? It doesn't really matter. TenZ will take it any day of the week. And there's a double kill for him. Unreal. TenZ gets that one done. Perfect positioning and timing as well. And now Cloud9 steal the lead back.
Dude, he was done for. I really don't know.
15 HP.
No, he was. It was absolutely shambolic. 15 HP. He had the op, of course. I mean, you hail back to Bogdan's law. Of course, he's gonna hold on to that operator, right? 1 shot, 1 kill. But instead of 1 shot, 2 birds, 1 stone. It be what it be, my friend. But now Immortals after that last one. Are you joking me? Has TenZ really just pulled another collateral?
Not again.
2 in a row. Sure, man. I mean, at this point,
he's destined.
Immortals. They, what can they even do? They make their way on site.
No,
TenZ and everything. TenZ with an ace. 2 of the most insane rounds with an operator that I have ever seen. TenZ, a collateral to end the round with 15 HP, and then immediately after, a collateral followed up by an ace. TenZ, take a bow, and you think about the story again. Not a lot of people in Valorant know this, but before, he even came to Valorant, just early this year, he was playing for a South African CSGO team. He was eliminated in Rio major qualifiers, open qualifiers at that. And then just a couple of months later, he finds himself as a top 3 player here in Valorant. I mean, man, oh man, what a story for TenZ.
Oh, and he's looking for more already off the bat. Wants to get aggressive down B main. This time he won't be gifted a kill. Maybe they're learning from the past 2 rounds that you just cannot challenge TenZ when he's got an operator in his hand. And now they've got 2. The more the merrier. Mitch has got himself one who played the operator in Ascent, and he was popping off. We'll see if he can do the same thing here. The spike right outside of A. Relyks, a player in his face. Mitch, first to hit the ground, but Relyks gets the trade back to the player up top. Flashbang goes out, or apologies, the curveball, a second one. He's using his utility to his advantage, and he's found 3 off of it. Next thing you know, TenZ swings out wide as well, and Genghsta's last alive. He needs a kill to get the revive back, but in a 1 versus 2, he's not going to be given many opportunities. Doesn't even have the spike, but there's a slight chance as the walls provided some cover. In comes Dicey. They can't peer over it yet. The spike still, but the rolling thunder will send them even further back. As a 2 versus 1 has flip-flopped back in the way of Cloud9, but Vice tries to challenge, and Vice will meet his maker. 5-4. They finally get the round back on the board, but still, Cloud9 are making these rounds exceptionally close.
The reverse, the Uno reverse card, in a sense. You went from a 2v1 in the hands of Cloud9 back to a 2v1 in the hands of Immortals. And to that extent, they end up capitalizing. Even off the ulti, too. Again, you have to feel for, or at least that player that peeked out over in Heaven. If I'm not mistaken, that was shinobi, the last person remaining. Again, I don't want to point at someone, just be like, oh, they lost them the round, but at least that person that peeked out Heaven, man, that was just a stark, oh man, a stark mistake. But still, 1 more player in Heaven. That's Mitch, actually taking down Asuna, but Asuna still launching out that showstopper. The knives are out for Dicey, but there's still frags all over the place. Again, this is more or less a default. They had a lurker over towards A, but now at this point, there's still so much more work to do for Immortals. still peeking out over towards Heaven, but that's Dicey pretty much opening up the site. There's still a wall in Heaven holding off shinobi, but the spike will go down with no contest.
TenZ is here though, and what has he got in his hand? He's got another operator. He's got 1 kill in the round off of it. Maybe he can get a little bit more. Classic maybe needed to get this kill up close. jcStani peers through the smoke, catches a mid reload, and they've got themselves the advantage here. Up by 1 at the very least. 2 players alive. It's Relyks and shinobi, who are maybe thinking better of it and might just back away, but it does look like they're committed here. It's the spike. It's running low though. Genghsta has a perfect angle. The crossfire, but shinobi swings out. Shinobi's got another. Shinobi not one more though. jcStani will salvage it. Shinobi so close, but it will be the tied score back as Immortals bring it back to a level head.
My thanks.
No, a very close situation at least. The fact that Immortals even had 3 on site, just the kind of crossfires that they were trying to playing up with. 1 below Heaven, 1 playing up boxes on site, 1 ninja in the back of site. All right. We understand. We get it. You want to go for the trades. You want to go for the 1-and-dones. And considering that they're up against, you know, only 2 players, they can go for those 1-and-dones. An easy task for them off the very beginning. But look at this. It's a, what would be now, a semi-default for this team. They were going to put down 2 on B. Did we see util at all from Genghsta? I want to know why he was all the way over in B main early on. I guess I'll try to find out earlier, but they still have a lurk in mid from Asuna. I think he's made a little bit of noise, but mostly it's going to be the gamble stack from Cloud9 on A.
Gonna try and work this one out though. There is still a couple of players sitting in the back. jcStani goes for the TP, denied though. As Genghsta finds another, they're swinging into the site now. TenZ is holding in the back lines though. Kills a flurry, all around the site they go. Next thing you know, it's just the 1 man standing, and the man stands for not much longer. It was TenZ as Immortals take the lead for the first time. 1 split, that execution, brutal and fast, and it's what gets it done. They've got the lead here, and it's the last round of this half, Gus.
Last round of the half, and Immortals, I mean, although we had a pretty great start from Cloud9 and 2 rounds of really greatness from TenZ,
Yes, this should do.
this has gone down to what is a very consistent Immortals team on some of these sides. I mean, when you really look over to Split period, Split isn't a great map at all for the attacker side. I mean, this is very much defender-sided at the moment, and even then, taking this up, Immortals. I do enjoy how much control they actually take up of these sites incredibly early on.
Yeah.
It's mainly their util usage, right? It's not exactly the most wasteful thing. It almost seems like they always have just the right amount of util left for a post plant on almost every player. And that's sort of a rarity. I say that as sort of an obvious thing, but that's, again, it's a rarity for now. But they, speaking of util, they won't have to use much of it. Cloud9 is going to go for a 4-on-3 retake now, going all the way down. jcStani with another now. Asuna needs to come up from behind, going around from screens, but what an interaction in Heaven. Oh man, I mean, that was at least a good idea from Immortals, but now Vice and Mitch.
Kill my allies.
Last 2 remaining as they pick up shinobi. Asuna has to be the hero, gets the first spray down, can't heal himself out. The only thing that he can do is run away.
Asuna, he was gifted mid. This entire team was, I felt like, gifted the round in a sense. Asuna all the way up middle, and now he's alone. 1 versus 2. The spike on his back, but 11 HP is all he's got to work with. The Phantom, though, is his salvation as Mitch has got an operator. This could work out so favorably if he plays his cards right. 15 seconds left. It's taken his sweet time to work this B site. And it's all about if he can play the retake. No longer has the paint shells. The spike going down in front of the CT spawn of the defender spawn. Apologies. And he'll double back on it. I don't know if they've heard him just yet. Doesn't seem like it. And Asuna is playing mind games with them. He's got to get this flank. It's almost the lineup, but that wall is incredible. The blast pack goes in. It draws him away just for a second. The spike, it's in the smoke here. And Asuna has been swung by Mitch, and there it is. We're all tied up going into the second half. 6-6. Cloud9 and Immortals are putting on a show.
When we talk about Sage play on Heaven, Mitch, what an absolute legend, holding back the wall deep in Heaven. But not only that, I mean, his mid play thus far has been pretty stellar. I say that, however, Immortals, they have been taking the mid area like candy in some rounds. Mitch finally stepping up near the end. Intuitive util usage. But now the half is 6-6, kind of as an attest to really how close the two teams actually are. And I mean, that's the thing with us, right? I don't think we've ever actually casted a full game of Immortals or a full game of Cloud9. And man, what a pleasure it actually is to be here, man. It's great. It's a great game. And I think going forward, Immortals, with how much prowess they actually showed on the attacking side, would I be remiss in saying that they should have an easier time on the defender side?
I think not. I feel like Immortals now on this defensive side, they looked really good on that attacking side, knew how to work these sites, and it's all if KOLER can hold it down this B site. Already has one for the taking. A lot of Cyphers love to sit in the back here, and KOLER, while he's only got one, has caused enough of a distraction. Players rotate back, but again, it's Relyks. On that Phoenix character, has found another triple. So many multi-kills for this man, as the flash goes out, the curveball right in the face of jcStani. The low HP shinobi goes down. Relyks, so many bodies to aim at, but that damage is what's gonna win them the round. Is Vice. A single right-click adventure is what wins them the round and takes the pistol away from Immortals.
It was a point-and-click adventure game for Relyks, and then a right-click adventure game for our boy Vice. But I love the B-hopping again, just making his way in, knowing that the last person was lit. And, well, it's not like, again, I keep making the correlation, but again, with CS, it's not exactly a burst. It's just a whole shotgun classic. So the bullets, at least one of them are going to connect. Ends up getting it at the very end. So Cloud9, a good start to say the very least, and Immortals going for a little bit of cheese if Cloud9 were to fall into that trap.
It's just going to be a fast execution. I mean, they really don't have any worries at this point. They know that it's probably going to be some kind of stack. Immortals opted to stack towards middle, unfortunately, so if they want to try and get a retake, which they could with a couple of kills, it is still going to be incredibly difficult. All they've really got to do this point, Cloud9, you know, sit back, relax, take a cup of tea, sip on it for a little bit. Mitch, up top, it is the fault line that is going to stun him, but it isn't going to last long enough to where it's going to make an impact here. Mitch held the trigger, but decides to capitalize on it, and he's pulled the trigger on 2 at least. Vice, apologies, makes it work as he's got a Spectre in his hand, and it is just the 2. Asuna with a sliver of HP, KOLER on 63. It's a 2 versus 2 though, but as I say that, both of them fall, and it is an 8th round for Cloud9, an expected 2nd round win.
Oh yeah, no, extremely linear, and I mean, mission accomplished for Immortals. I mean, they really wanted to take away at least 2 or 3 guns from the Cloud9 squad purely for that economic advantage, right? I mean, I mentioned this in the first half. The guns that you take away from the second half is going to heavily affect your, or at least the winning team from the first half, first round, that is. Purely because, again, they have to reinvest all that money. And, I mean, if you end up losing the first 2 rounds, still get those frags, and you win out the third, you're going to have a way easier time in the rest of the half. Most likely even a reset right after, but who knows what happens at this point. This game has thrown so many curveballs at us. And over towards mid, TenZ, he sees that the wall is wide open. He walks right through the smoke. There's 2 players in heaven. He could walk his way into elevator, but he hasn't opted to do so just yet. But Genghsta is watching over it. TenZ takes just a little bit too long. The smoke dissipates, and he's out of here. Cloud9 down to 4.
TenZ, that was the play, I feel like. You like that tiny gap in the wall and that smoke, I think, obscured the vision of the defender, so it was kind of like a guessing game. Is there a gap or is there not? And I guess they had to bank on the fact that there was, and that's why they were ready for it. 4 players left here for Immortals, and Cloud9 sit tight. Or apologies, 4 players for Cloud9 and Immortals sit tight. As they do have Dicey in the back of a screen holding with an operator. The smoke, though, I believe is being sent on over. No, that's straight towards middle. So they're kind of going in blind here. Yes, I think they've got the curveball at the very least in the hands of Relyks. Not even that. So if they want to go for an execution, they might just be walking in blind. The flashpoint is all I'm guessing that they've got left here, unless they decide to throw up a wall and cross over towards ramp.
You're dead.
The running back is going to distract Dicey just a little bit more. He sees one crossing. He's smoked off. Dicey has to make a readjustment back to sight. He's not exactly TenZ. Can't get the collateral. But still, jcStani up top. Shinobi with a return frag. Spike has to go down, but instead Asuna shuts it down. A second. Looking for a third, but instead it's going to be Vice. Takes one, but he's traded away by Genghsta. Immortals back in the half, back in the game, and again, they boot on their opponents on extremely bipolar, uneven economy.
They're bouncing back and forth here, and without win Immortals, you talk about that economy, but still, TenZ has got just enough in the bank account to pull out the operator. Despite the performances that we've seen in those 2 rounds, TenZ overall has been pretty stale. I hate to say stale just looking at its KD, but I mean, we've only had 2 real big shining moments. Otherwise, it feels like he's getting maybe a kill here or there.
Right. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that kind of attributes to the fact that, you know, an entire game isn't going to be decided on really only 2 rounds, because that's exactly how much he actually capitalized off of. I mean, if you look back on it, those 2 rounds were kind of sandwiched between 3 other rounds from Immortals. So it was a 6-2 run in that extent. But TenZ just so happened to be an absolute all-star during that. But I'm sure we'll see him back with that op once again, because he holds it up. And again, on the attacker side of splits, I guess this is more or less a sniper's paradise type map, but is this the best option for a team on an eco? Is it really the best option to put TenZ on the op right now?
I gotta agree. I don't know if it is exactly. It's kind of one of those hero vandal or phantom plays or hero rifle plays. You trust in the fact that TenZ is gonna pop off, maybe get another collateral if you're lucky. Lady Luck has been on TenZ's side thus far. We'll see if that continues. So that operator still just playing kind of really passive on this attacking side. They seem a little bit uneasy as to where they plan to go, right? You've got a player towards B, 1 towards middle that could try and work up elevator. And then you've just got 3 hanging out towards A. No one's really making a move thus far for either of these teams. It's been very quiet as that Rolling Thunder, it's drawing away these rotations, and Relyks, they're springing on it. The fake has been sold, but KOLER hasn't bought into it at all. Dash back here in TenZ, the operator. This is what comes back to haunt him as a classic, a flying classic. Now he goes down, though, as Vice, the man that sent the fake, the man that sent the Rolling Thunder, is the last man alive.
And again, unfortunate. I mean, Cloud9 realized that they would have to go on a double eco after this anyway, so they dip all of their cash into that last one. And not only just all of their cash, but they went into a Juggernaut buy where you allow a player to really just buy out all the util that he needs, and then the 2 players that are going to be sticking back on pistols, you buy up the operator, you buy out the vandals, you buy up the rifles for the players that ended up buying up util. So they ended up putting them on Relyks, TenZ, and Vice. They're 3 top fraggers thus far in this game, but that didn't end up working out in their favor. Again, they're just going to have to stick to what is a half buy, sticking at just around 2,000 credits, and it just so happens that they could actually stick to that Phantom from the last one. I mean, this is the pivotal of hero rifles, as Vice really needs to chime in to make this worth it.
Close engagement mid, lots of utility. Boomba, wall, 2 smokes, now even a nade coming out. I think TenZ just tried to dash on in, and it's a falling Bucky is what takes the kill. But KOLER and Genghsta immediately respond with 2 of their own. Relyks has been spotted out to the back of B, and he's been removed by KOLER. So, yeah, he wanted to go for something cheeky. Dicey, that's not a shot that he misses all too often. Nearly has the chance at a collateral. Mitch brings back Vice into the mix here, and Genghsta, he's lost the fight to shinobi. Asuna's at least got the trade back here, but a 2 versus 2. It's winnable and it's doable. Spike on his back. Instead, he's headed towards the B site. This is a perfect play so far here from Cloud9. Vice is making that slow but sure rotation. And it's really up to shinobi to stay alive, but the rocket is what's gonna catch him, the showstopper, and this round is done. Vice has nothing more to say, and Asuna's just got to put in the digits or hold on to the, I guess, the clearance thing and defuse the spike. I don't know what that thing's called, honestly.
Right. Spike, the bomb, the triangle thing, the pyramid, whatever it may be.
You know what that thing is from Progressive? The checker, the price checker.
Oh, the price checker.
That's what I was going for, but I was like, what do I call this? Like, I said punch in digits because of CS, but I was like, I don't know.
It works.
I don't know.
Yeah. At least back in that round, I mean, you had that last player trying to go back in towards main. He was just trying to play time. Vice was in he was in a pretty predictable spot, considering the fact that really Immortals knew exactly where he was coming from. But we're talking about Raze, right? We're talking about a showstopper. You point it in a general direction. We saw it earlier in group stages. That showstopper could go right through walls. So even if you're trying to get a plant, say right behind a wall, even behind screens on A, I mean, that That thing is just not going to work out in your favor. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a pause on the server. Don't really know why at the moment, but it seems like C9 was the one that called it. So thus far, Sully, do you really have any players to watch for the rest of this one?
I mean, let's be real. We all know that we're going to end up watching TenZ. We all know we're going to end up watching Asuna and Dicey. I don't know if there's much more else to say. Relyks has been popping off. Obviously, Asuna and Dicey, the combined duo. KOLER has been doing a really good job holding that B side. All of Immortals, I feel like, have been fragging out in pretty much an equal standard for this entire series. So, I think all of Immortals, right? There is no one player that's just that one god, except for maybe Asuna. But everyone's doing their part. The rest of Cloud9, though, they are down by 1 round. So maybe you gotta watch out for what TenZ can pull off here. I do think he has an operator in his hand.
Right. Has that op, light armor only. But checking in on util. If I'm not mistaken, TenZ has everything that he could possibly want. He has full and the ulti to work with. So TenZ, he's fully stacked up in this round. He really just wanted the full armor. That would have been the frosting on the cake, would have been the cherry on top. There you go. I'm not exactly a wordplay type man, but really, all the action just needs to be done on the server, because for now you have Mitch taking down KOLER in the corner. KOLER, he was in quite the cheese spot. I mean, in that position, you usually see out on an eco round person with a shotgun, or shorty really with an SMG, and he has the equipment to work with. KOLER, he put up his cage just a little bit too early, and the players really just needed a little bit of patience. This is a solid fake, however. Cloud9 inching their way towards mid, as really most of the players from Immortals caught the bait over towards B.
I think the smoke that was thrown just sank into the floor. It was straight ear, and because of it, jcStani, he's been gifted 2 kills. KOLER brought back into the game, is now out of the game as they go 2 for 2. TenZ leaping on out. It's knives for knives here. Both the Jetts alive, and they're facing each other. Right beneath him, TenZ. Time is running out, though. The spike, it needs to go down. He's got it in his hands, but he's just barely covered it out. And it's a flying Dicey that shuts him down. Double digits now here for Immortals as they find the lead by 2 in Cloud9. I can't imagine the economy's looking too pretty.
No, absolutely not. I mean, they still put in a lot of cash into the last round, but it was mainly, again, it's mainly based off the fact that they're on full loss bonus at the moment, so they're still going to be able to buy up on most of their rifles. But man, TenZ, he put everything into that round. Like I mentioned, full util, operator, going all the way down to 0 credits, even using up that ulti. So he's, again, potentially could have the ulti by the end of the game. But man, TenZ, what was even that move just a little bit earlier too? I mean, at the very end, people talk about his, what is it? I think it might either be Kovacs or Aim Labs. The dude's absolutely nuts. Had an insane flick at the very end, but still has to capitalize just a little bit more here on what might be a little bit more of a hit scan. He has a shotgun. He has a judge.
Yeah, judge. I like the idea of it in the hands of a Jett. I love just running around with the Jett and the judge and just flying around. And unfortunately, that's not the option he's going for. When there's a phantom presented, he will capitalize on the gift that's been given. They still don't know that he's there, though. His position, he doesn't even need to do anything. It feels like his Vice is the man that'll pick up where he lacks. It was 1 kill for him and 4 for Vice, and a 9th round here for Cloud9. A scrappy buy turns into a big round, as now both of these teams are kind of on even footing.
I mean, you talk about inopportune buys. This next one would have been garbage. Honestly, it would have been just around $1,000 to $2,000 for everyone on Cloud9. But instead now, the players that ended up going down, they could still rebuy at just around 3.5K. Immortals, again, still not doing as great. And that's the thing with all of these rounds. Although Immortals just won 4 rounds in a row, the real factor to things are the fact that Cloud9 are still keeping these at around the same wavelength. Still keeping it within 2 players, 3 players, slowly chipping down the economy of Immortals. And now that it matters, now that they can finally get that reset, Cloud9 could potentially put them in a spot to completely reverse the scoreline back to an 11-10. But really, are we going to see it? We do have a pick very early on onto Asuna. 2 over towards Heaven and 2 over towards Heaven A at the moment. This is a tough scenario for Cloud9, but if they could just waltz their way on B, this could potentially be theirs.
And there's no KOLER there. The Cypher, that has been really dominant thus far. KOLER's done a phenomenal job slowing these players down, keeping them on their toes, allowing his team to rotate on in, and now it's Dicey. the Jett. Jett v Jett. Jett on Jett violence as Dicey takes the life of TenZ. We'll send a smoke his way though. Cover up B main, keep them on their toes once more like I mentioned. Mitch doesn't have enough for the revive. That is what's unfortunate at this point in time. He does have the operator though. We know what he can do and they're just trying to sell this A fake. Dicey. Oh, I thought for a second he was going to buy into it, but he's bit a bullet instead. Mitch has cleared out the B site. Genghsta's a little bit late to the party. TPs go in. They're trying to go for this wallbang, but Genghsta pre-fire in the wrong angle, gets a dink that won't result in the kill he was hoping for. 4 players alive here for Cloud9 in the retake scenario, and 3 here for Immortals. KOLER late to the party, but late is better than never as jcStani approaches on out, but Mitch shuts him down. Genghsta and KOLER last 2 alive. Genghsta can heal himself back up to 100, but KOLER has found another. 2 on 2, and KOLER's got 1 more. Relyks is coming in behind them though. Do they realize it? They know he was the player trying to sell the fake, and now the ultimate's been called out. They know where he's coming from, but Relyks is gonna try for it, and he's shut down by Genghsta. 11-9. Immortals take the lead in a round that looked a little bit scrappy in their buys.
Just a little bit right now. Cloud9, they still are going to have just around $4,000 to $6,000 in the bank. Okay, so the operator is going to come out on Mitch, at least could drop that, trade that out to TenZ. But Lord, what a round at least. Immortals capitalizing on what was an empty heaven and an early lurk from Relyks. And I mean, that's the thing with Split. It is such a big map that if you catch yourself off in a default, if your team does end up capitalizing on a take or a pick, you're going to be the absolute last person to make it onto that site, whether you're talking about your own teammates or your opposition. So again, you waltz your way on, and by the time you actually get towards that site, all your teammates are dead. You're just screwed. Relyks now, he is all in his lonesome. He's lurking on A once again. And that's actually a pretty good nade if it had just landed just a little bit deeper. But for now, no real action on the server. No damage just yet. As Immortals, they take control. I'm sorry, Cloud9. They take advantage of mid.
Mid has kind of been this avenue, I feel like, that a lot of early Split haters thought was really overpowered, depending on if you took it. And kind of feels like both of these defending teams, in the last round specifically of the half, it was Immortals that really just didn't bother with mid. And now they're kind of doing the same thing here for Cloud9. Don't really care too much about mid. Instead, they're focused on the sites and focusing their attention towards the heaven, as they have found both Relyks and TenZ in sync as Genghsta. The spray transfer catches Mitch and Vice. And this could be match point here for Immortals unless shinobi can hold back a little bit longer. Paranoia in both of their phases. Missed shot here from Dicey. Gives him a chance. Picks up the other Phantom, but it's only 9 bullets in the magazine. And on 21 HP, no spike in 15 seconds. I think at this point, Gus, there's no chance.
No, absolutely. The loss bonus is only going to take up these attackers to around $3,000 to $4,000. That's a hard maybe, right? I don't even know what their loss bonus is going to be at. Don't really know if it's reset, but let's see what happens. No, it's actually even more disastrous than I thought. It's going to be just about $2,000 to $3,000. And when you go into match point on an eco, man, that spells absolute disaster. What a game from Cloud9. What a game from Immortals in general in terms of individual fragging. But it just so happens to be thus far in this defender side, Immortals shutting down these extremities. Yes, they allow Cloud9 really a lot of wiggle room to actually work with. But these retakes for Immortals, man, they've been they've been too good, my friend. Too good. Now in this round, you have a double op setup between Asuna and Dicey. Dicey has been a legend on the operator thus far. Asuna chiming in might be a little bit of a curveball considering that he was an all-star with a rifle. Well, all going to depend what he actually plays up on. And he's actually playing Anchor on B with it. Not a bad idea by any means. Cloud9, they're currently playing a default, and oh man, it's a default, but it's all too antsy of a default. Relyks once again for the 3rd round in a row going aggressive on A, and he's finally picked off.
Oh, almost another lineup here for Genghsta. KOLER's gonna help him out, nearly gets the next kill they wanted. Asuna though towards B. The solo B player with the tripwire in the camera. Next thing you know, it's just one man. He has the spike, but Asuna, I think, is going to meet him with the Bulldog. And there you've got it. The second advancement team into the round 2 of the Gauntlet Invitational. Genghsta was the first, and now we've got our second. Immortals upset Cloud9 in terms of seeding and find themselves a spot in continuing their upper bracket run.
upset them in terms of seeding, but the history is all in the, it's all in the hands